You ever notice, like, when you're in the shower, you come up with some of your best ideas?
Yeah, your brain kind of drifts.
It does, because you're in that brainwave state. So a big part of my work is taking the invisible and making it visible. Like, when I do these demonstrations, I always tell people that I do it because I want you to see that there's a method behind the magic. That when somebody does something that's extraordinary, in athletics, in education, in technology, with the human body, there's always a trail, because genius leaves clues. One of the things that I like to tell people, and they don't want to hear it, but in terms of high performers, when people do it, they get the result across the board, is not touching your phone the first hour of the day. And even when I say that, people are like, Jim, I was kind of loving what you're saying up to this point, but you lost me here, because that's what we do. But we do it not out of need all the time, we do it out of habit. Now think about habits and addiction. The average person I read opens up Instagram 150 times a day.
Come on.
150 times. So if you're not doing it that much, because I certainly am not, somebody else is doing it a whole lot more, which is really, really scary. But that's by design. Like you said, companies, from product design, they're putting fortunes in to understand why we do what we do. Knowing you're in this alpha theta state first thing in the morning, you're very suggestible, right? And if the first thing you're picking up is your phone, then that really is rewiring our brain for two things. The dangers. That's going to really decrease your level of productivity and performance. Number one, it's training you to be distracted. And we talked about that. Every like, share, comment, everything is just making you just pay attention to everything else, and rewiring your brain. So when you're having a conversation with somebody, you can't even focus because you've trained your brain to do otherwise. And that's why mindfulness is so important, whether it's meditation or something else, because it's not that I don't meditate every single day just to be at peace and be in the Zen state. I do it because it's a mental exercise. It improves my cognitive capabilities, meaning that when my mind goes somewhere else, that's the opportunity, because when I pull it back with my breath or visualization, I built that muscle. Because here's really the basis of my work is really about taking nouns and turning them into verbs. So what do I mean by that? It's like so many people, they wake up and say, oh, I hope I have energy today, or I have motivation today, things that they have, right? I have creativity so I can write today or make videos, or I have memory, or I have focus or concentration. Those aren't things you have, those are things you do. And so you don't have love, you do loving things. You don't have energy, you do things that give you energy. Just like that applies, same thing with learning. You don't have focus, there's a process for doing focus. You don't have a memory, there's steps to improve your memory. So mindfulness doesn't have to be regulated just to meditation. We could bring mindfulness to when we eat, right? We could do it to everything. And then if you're eating with the opposite hand, as an example, right, then it forces you to be present, right? And for me, I like that feeling, as opposed to, you're right, it's not just what you eat, it's how you eat. Right, and a lot of people are working while they're eating, so they're on that parasympathetic rest and digest place, and so they're probably not even getting a lot of what they could get out of consuming. And I'll go into the reading in a moment. Just on the consumption part, in the morning, like another framework I use for my day, and it's not perfect, right? All these are like little filters. Generally, I like to keep the morning free, and of course, there's other things. Doctor appointment, I have to do this for my child, and I have to do have this other podcast interview. But generally in the mornings, I like to create. I found for me, my brain mode in the morning is to be creative. So I want to output. In the afternoon, I tend to consume. And that's where I tend to do some study, read for a podcast, listen to a podcast, have conversations with people. I tend to consume information. So I'm putting information in. And then the last, where I create, consume, in the evening, I want to clear. And that's what I'm trying to do. So I want to clear my mind, meaning I want to write down the things I have to do the next day, maybe so I could get it out of my mind so I don't have to ruminate about it. Or maybe I'll use some yoga nidra and just do some breathing meditation to clear, my mind. Or maybe I'll journal and I'll just write it, or I'll talk to my wife and talk about what I did that day to clear my mind. I think if somebody wants to improve their esteem, the self-esteem overnight, just study your brain. Like you'll get a boost of confidence and pride like instantly, because it is the most incredible, I don't even know what to call it, a device, a supercomputer, what, in the whole universe. It's not just about going out to Mars and all these other places. I want to go in here, because this controls what? everything, our careers, our income, our health, our relationships, whether or not you get, complete. We were talking about this before our conversation here. When you're training for Ironman and triathlons and everything else, is how much of it is mental. Like we know, like everyone knows what to do, but do they do what they know? Because common sense is not common practice. And it's a myth that knowledge is power. Knowledge it has the potential to be power. It only becomes power when we use it, when we apply it. Like people think they should get points for buying books and sitting on the shelf, and it just sits there and it becomes like shelf help, not self-help, right?
Self-help, yeah.
Or somebody will go and learn something. They'll listen to a podcast like this or a show, or they'll go to a conference. They'll pay all this money, but they don't do anything with what they learn. And part of it also is because they forget it. Everyone knows there's a learning curve, but there's also a forgetting curve. Did you know, like the forgetting curve says that if you learn something once, within 48 hours, 80% of it is gone. 80%. So you listen to a show, you watch something on YouTube, you go to a conference, you read a book, within 2 days, the majority of it is gone because nobody trains us how to have. That's why memory is so important. And so the first thing, don't touch your phone because it's training you to be distracted. The second thing it's training you for, which is almost worse, I don't know what's worse, being punched in the face, kicked in the stomach, I don't know. But the second thing that's worse is it's training you, rewiring your brain to be reactive, meaning that you're in this relaxed state of awareness when you first wake up. You pick up your phone, you get one text with bad news, or one voicemail, or one email, and this has all happened to us. You're in a bad mood for the rest of your day because you're so impressionable. You're in that hypnotic state, and it affects you. And you can never have a quality life, with that, and be the best version of ourselves, be an elite mental performer or high performer when you're responding and reacting to everybody else. My friend Brendan Burchard says, an inbox is nothing but a convenient organizational system for other people's agenda for your life. And how can you have vision for your life? Like for me, the night before, like I did a whole episode on my morning routine, like 10 things I do every morning to jumpstart my brain. And I also have an evening 1 hour routine to get into sleep, to maximize my sleep. Sleep is so very important to be able to do. But one of the processes I do, besides blackout curtains and cold and temperatures and breath and stuff, meditation, is I don't touch a screen. Right, because it creates blue light, and most people should know this. The screen on your laptop, your phone, everything else emits this blue light, which inhibits the melatonin production, which helps you to relax and go to sleep. So no screens. But the other thing I do is I write down the 3 things I want to accomplish the next day personally, and the other 3 are professionally. So now when I wake up, I have a vision for my life. Like this is a win today if I just get these 3 things done personally and 3 things professionally. And then when it comes to my phone, I don't touch my phone until I get at least 1 thing done. And that's my test. If I could just do that. And it's not always perfect, but it's about progress, right? Because practice makes progress, right? And there's never going to be a perfect. And I think people need to find what works for them. But I would say, again, to step out is don't trust yourself as the expert instead of somebody else, and test it.